Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Broken Compass, a show about how people navigate their life when they feel lost or stuck with all the good, bad and bittersweet things that comes with it. My very first guest is one of my best friends, Peter Mraz. Peter is originally from Slovakia, but he lived in many different countries, including Austria, Switzerland and UK. For some time, he had what looked like a perfect life. A beautiful apartment in a nice neighborhood of London, a successful career at Fortune 500 company, nice vacations, and a fantastic wife, Andrea. But then he suffered from burnout. How did this experience change him and his way of looking at life? That's what you're going to hear in today's episode. Don't forget to let me know what you think about it after you finish it. I would love to hear your opinions and thoughts or answer any question you might have. But let's get to it. Hello, Peter, and let's start with the question, how did we first met?
First time we met was actually in Switzerland, yeah.
Was in Switzerland,
I
right?
believe so, yeah.
And why did we met in Switzerland, by the way?
Oh yeah, we went for this interview for being a translators in this addiction treatment clinic. But I'm not sure. Maybe we have met like a few months prior to that in Bratislava through Andy. Yeah, I think that might have been the case. And then we were like talking, and I knew you were in Constance, and I thought like, oh yeah, come with me to this interview. Like maybe you can get something out of it as well.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. I could not remember. I don't know if we met or if just Andy talked about me. That's something that I was trying to find it out, but I couldn't find it.
I heard about you before. Yeah, I met you definitely. So yeah. I think that was 2012. 2012, probably.
Yeah, that's when we were in Constance about that time. So that sounds about right. So it's 10 years ago, man. Wow.
Time flies.
So the Switzerland, I think we should talk a little bit about it. So we went for the interview. By the way, you invited me for that interview. Thank you, even though I didn't get a job. But so what was it about? Maybe let's explain to the folks who are listening.
Yeah. So essentially, there's a clinic which is, even if you put it to YouTube, the most expensive rehab in the world. It's this one in Switzerland, and they even had a small documentary or short one. And it's on the Zurich Lake, and they had clients coming in from the countries we are from, and the client doesn't speak English, speaks very little German, so they needed somebody to translate essentially all the therapies and all the kind of interactions with the client. So my friend knew the administrator in the company, just put out a Facebook status. Mm-hmm. I signed up. He said, "Oh, aren't you studying?" I'm like, "Gladly, I'll go 1 month, out of uni, have a break." And it was really good money for that time. Or I don't think I'm making that much money now, and I'm 8 years into my career. So, and essentially they asked also if I know somebody else, because it will be quite intense. So you were just across the border in Constance. So I was like, you might be able to help. You had a lot of exposure to English and German. So went for the interview, really sweaty climb up to this place on the Zurich Lake from the train. And then we had the interview, and in the end, they kept just me. I think in the end, it was just enough for one person. So might be that.
Yeah, and it was really interesting experience because it was the first time that in the interview you actually had to like translate, as you talk, you had to translate, and it's very different, translating text or something. But when people like talk and need to capture all the thoughts, and then try to translate it and try to be as accurate of what the guy said, and you cannot translate it 1-to-1, right? Because languages are different. That was an interesting experience for sure.
Yeah, I practiced a little bit before, just like translating 60 minutes talk about like addiction or whatever. Then it started, and it was essentially 1 month of translating all the therapies, all the dealings with the client. You know, it's in a sense, a crazy place. They have their own chef for the month. They have their butler. They have their sponsor who's assigned just to them and lives with them. They have, yeah, yoga instructor. They have reflexologist for like foot massage. Um, yeah, there's a managing director, there's a doctor, like a physical one. They take you to a hospital and you spend a week there for like a detox or like intensive detox. They have nutritionist, and you spend at that point, it was 10 years ago, it was 100,000 francs a week. So yeah, and they prepare you all this schedule, all these people around you have daily meetings. I think yeah, before the day starts and after the day ends, kind of go over what happened. And they have also these expensive machines. So it was, yeah, you get driven around in a S-Class Mercedes with your own chauffeur. Um, it's a crazy experience. So essentially, their clients are like Saudi sheikhs, or I don't know, Saudi, maybe like yeah, Arab princes,
Super
yeah,
rich people.
Russian oligarchs. It was really funny when we were there. We asked like, so just like give us a flavor, like who would be your client? You don't have to name a name who was here, but like who would it be? And the guy had to think, like, thought for made quite a pause, and then he's like, Britney Spears. She wasn't here.
and and before we go deeper, by the way, I have one question: is have you had any experience with therapy or maybe therapy before you went for this job?
No, nothing, zero. Like
so did you had any expectation of what this will be like?
no, no idea. It was just like when we were actually doing it, it was a talking therapy. Yeah, what I ended up doing literally 8 or 9 years later. But it's very different when you're the subject and when you're just translating for the subject. Yeah, like you don't have a chance to, yeah, catch like all the nuances or what's going on in the person's head. Yeah, and I think even by the fact that it was being translated, it takes something out of it. Yeah, like when I go to a therapy, I can express myself in English and it's all fine, and all these like nuances can be caught by the therapist. But yeah, it's definitely a very different experience when it's your job and when it's you're the subject, yeah, or you're the
Right.
patient.
But what did you learn from being in those therapies? Because I think that can be quite an intense experience. You see people in a very different way than when you would meet them on the street, right?
Yeah, so this client is a billionaire essentially, yeah, and he turned up in a private jet, and as he got out, you would think he's a hobo. Like you wouldn't give him money on the street. Like if you saw him, like it was, yeah, barely a person. It was quite tough to see, and that gives you this like. I ended up having a conversation with him at one point, just sitting there like in between sessions, and I was like, oh, like you have such a cool life. You have all this money, like you can do whatever you want, and it's like it's awesome. Yeah, back then I was broken or financially broken student, yeah, with barely any money and no prospect of a job or anything. Just this one for a month. And he was like, oh, funny that you say that, Peter. I envy you. Like nobody's following you around like they want to destroy you. No media is writing about you. Nobody's, no paparazzi around taking pictures of your wife. Like, yeah, I would switch life with you. I was like looking at him like, oh, like, okay, maybe I don't have to do a startup worth of 1 billion or whatever. I can take life easy and not totally destroy myself in the course of making money or providing for whatever I want to do. So that was quite a sobering moment, at least that one. And yeah, basically seeing, and I realized all these things only with like passing of time and being through my own experience, that like people push themselves to perform and like being exceptional and be the best and achieve wealth, and like in the course of it they destroy themselves. Yeah, like there's
Yeah.
even this book in Slovakia, yeah, what Andy, our friend, recommended me. It's like, yeah, roughly translated like non-burnt out people, is the title. And you see, like, for me, sport is something which releases like all this anxiety and helps me like in the mental state. But there are like athletes which practice every day and do lots of physical exercise and sport to be the best, and they struggle mentally, yeah, and they have depressions, burnouts, and whatnot. And yeah, then I kind of feel sorry for them. Yeah, like that's the life I would want. Like be best in ice hockey and play in NHL. Yeah, that was my kind of like childhood dream at one point. But if it brings you to a point where the thing which you essentially love the most is going against you, it's
It's not really giving you
that's
anything in the end.
something wrong about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also about the fact that we, what you see around the rich people or successful, let's say successful people, whatever, it's they are good at sports, they are perform really well in business, or have good paid jobs, is that you see only a very small part of their life, right? Like with anything, like I normally when I eat alone, I eat fairly healthy, I would say. But sometimes when I go out, I eat a lot of cakes, a lot of nasty food. And then, people would say, okay, well, you eat all this shitty food and you're fit. But that's not really the story, because 80% of the time I eat fairly healthy, right? And that's exactly, translating into the other side is you're only seeing very small part of life of these people and you don't see anything around
Yeah.
it. And then the other aspect is like when it's like the performance anxiety, right? When you're really good at something and then you need to be good at it, and you achieve a goal and then you need to beat another thing, right? Because otherwise, what do you do? And I think the other thing is when something becomes your identity, like I'm a runner or I'm my job. I think that's what a lot of people have. Then what if you stop with it? What are you afterwards?
Yeah. Like the Swiss experience in the rehab facility, I think it helped me to accept the kind of health model around mental health. Like, okay, you go to therapy, yeah, because what we have in our countries usually when you're broken or yeah, when you have depression or anxiety, you get pills. That's the first thing that the doctor gives you, prescribes pills, and it's kind of a hit and miss. My dad has trouble with this, and it's every 5 years kind of he has to go for physically to go to a rehab, or yeah, and they try to adjust the pills, but it's not trying to fix the underlying problem, which is you're essentially nasty to yourself. Yeah, it's very easy to say it now, after like being through all this year and something probably of therapy, but that's what it essentially is. And I totally get if somebody would hear this in the beginning of their journey and it's like, how can you say that? Yeah, that's like I'm nice to myself, like I go to work and I work and I go maybe exercising and I do this and this. But I think even I was that way essentially a year and a half ago. Like, yeah, I exercise a little bit. I go to work, but I don't eat healthy. I don't do the things I enjoy to do. I push myself to perform a lot. And when you start to strip away like all these things, like imagine you were the nice parent, yeah. Like you're not the one which
Mm-hmm.
says, "Oh, you still have to do this, you still have to do that, you have to perform there, you have to finish that, you have to clean up around the house, and then you can enjoy." Imagine you were the one where first take care of yourself and then take care of others. And I think that's what essentially mental health
Mm.
is about. But yeah, see if
Yeah.
somebody told me this even in the mental health or in the rehab clinic, I would be like, uh, yeah, what are you on about? Yeah, I
What are you talking about?
I only learned this,
But
yeah, 2 years after.
let's maybe give it a little. Let's give it a little bit of
Yeah.
context. So, like, so 1.5 year ago, right? You essentially had a burnout, right?
So
Can we call it there? Or
yeah, it's October 3rd, 2020. I remember the day, and it's like a second birthday in a sense, yeah. Or yeah, I call it a birthday, but you could also call it a half death, I guess. Uh,
uh-huh.
Essentially, yeah, it was a buildup of maybe few months, starting somewhere probably in July, August, where I started to have a headache. I would take a pill, against a painkiller. Yeah, I would have this
Mm.
all this tension. I would be like, really stressed at work, like pushing myself, like still finish this, still finish that, try to get a promotion, and yeah, by also the fact of just sitting at home behind screens and yeah, lockdown and all these other kinds of fears coming in and uncertainty. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it came to a point that we went for a holiday for I think a week or two, but I couldn't relax there. It was just still like all these fears and anxieties inside,
What kind of fears? What kind of fears?
oh, I'll come back and I'll still have to deal with like all these thousands of emails and finish things which are still pressing and yeah, there will be stress at work and I won't have time to just relax. And yeah, I could sleep, but it was very like a shallow sleep, I guess. But I wasn't realizing any of this. Like I was just going, like executing. Yeah, like okay, you're executing at work.
mm.
You're a machine. You're a robot. You shut down all your emotions, and you just perform. Yeah. And we went for a holiday. Couldn't relax. Come back. The first day was really tough. Like I told myself, I have to take it slow. Like just really relax and also tell my
Mm.
boss like something's like I need a little bit softer pace. Um, and that was the first day back. Second day back, yeah, second or third day back. Then I was like, yeah, today I'll tell my boss. But in the morning, I sat behind the computer. I started type down an email, and this has happened a couple of times before. Like when I had like a super stressful situation, I started to gag
Yeah.
for vomit, like really like yeah, and my ears started to ring like crazy, and I was like completely dizzy, yeah, headache, crazy headache, very irritable. I was like, okay, I have to stop. I called my boss, like, look, I'm not working today. Like something's terribly wrong. Uh, and then it was like that. I think that was Tuesday or Wednesday. It was like that for pretty much the rest of the week. I remember lying down on the couch and it was very windy outside. And like when the wind blew into the windows, like the sound, it was crazy irritating. I couldn't do anything about it. And it was like just get me out of here. Yeah. Couldn't go anywhere really. I just slept through the days. And then, yeah, I called my GP and luckily, and yeah, I think this is the universe taking care of me. She was
Mm.
like, yeah, what do you have? Sounds like, yeah, it's anxiety, but you don't need medicine. Uh, or yeah, drugs, get therapy. And she said, get what's the standard therapy you go to? The uh, behavioral. It's like three letters. Yeah,
cognitive
cognitive
behavior,
behavioral
right?
therapy. Yeah.
Uh, how, how did you feel about her telling you you should go to therapy?
Oh, I was like, great. Hopefully that will help me. Yeah. So I have.
Do you think that that experience that you actually have seen therapy in
Yeah.
like in real life,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I
Because
mentioned
I
before. Like, I was very much open to it in a sense. Like, I'm not going to a shrink. I'm going to a therapist, yeah, or somebody who will give me guidance or yeah, help me to get better. I'm not a broken person per se. Like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just something wrong is happening to me. Yeah.
this is really I like the way you said it because we have actually discussed together a podcast with Jebel, one very famous singer from US. And she also went through she did more of a self therapy, but at one point in the book that she wrote, she says that there was a statue in their village, and the statue was actually from gold, but it was covered by mud for a long time. So people actually forget that it's made of gold. But I'm not sure if it was made of gold. It was just the color was gold, but there was actual gold on it. And one day it was raining, and all the mud started coming down, and you could see pieces of the gold. And she was like, oh, at that point, I realized that you are never broken. You just have like some crap on you that you need to kind of wash up, and you need to clean from yourself to get to that gold, that your authentic self, or whatever we want to call it, right? Yourself, and it's there. It's always there. You just need to wash the dirt out.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's nice.
That's
because
beautiful. Yeah. Way to put it. Essentially, none of us. I think everybody has the potential to achieve great things. Yeah, and everybody is unique, and in their sense, they can create something unique worth so much for anybody else. Yeah. So, yeah, there's gold in everybody.
Okay, so you started the CBD or CBL therapy,
CBT.
or
So no.
CBD is something
CBT is
different.
something different.
So it's going to be cognitive behavior
Therapy. Yeah.
therapy,
Yeah,
CBT,
that's like
right?
the gold
T.
standard of talking therapies. And I found I have also luck that I have access to like private insurance, and there they have selection of like really experienced therapists. And I found one there on the website, like, oh, okay, he has, I don't know, 15 years experience in therapies and does CBT. Fine. I contacted him. Also advice for anybody looking to go to therapies, find somebody close to your home, somebody who seems relatable, or I think at the end of the day, it's like you look at the person and you are like, okay, they are sympathetic to me, or like seem like trusting, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
sense. And by the way, they've done research on this, and they were kind of it was this comparison research when you take a lot of different research, and they were looking for a correlation of like what is the most important things that matters in the therapy. And the most important thing is not the type of therapy or the method that people use, but it's the relationship that the therapeutist and therapeutee, I guess, has. So yeah, definitely important. Yeah.
So essentially, I found a guy who is like old, wise. Well, no, he's not old. Older. Seems wise. He's like this Greek philosopher looking, and he is Greek. So it's and I started like within a week, which when I tried through NHS, so I live in England, They gave me a date for like 3 weeks from the date when I applied. So that was quite nice. I could start right away. I had weekly sessions, and I think maybe 2 3 months in, I told my therapist like, Nicholas, like I think this is like this CBT therapy is really helping. Like I feel better, and he's like, "Oh, we're not doing CBT therapy." I'm like, "So what is this?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I don't practice CBT because I think it has some limitations, and yeah, this is called psychodynamic therapy." Uh, and
Mhm.
then the session ended. A few minutes after that, and I went and Googled, and I was like, "Again, the universe is trying to help me. Like this type of therapy from what I Google is much better for me than what I think CBT would be." Yeah. Like it's supposed to give you longer lasting results and kind of go deeper, and really like try to analyze also the roots of the problem. And, yeah. So in that sense, again, yeah, I do believe there is some sort of power or entity, or yeah, maybe the universe itself, like it's trying to help you and it wants you to be happy, like yeah.
Is this something that you would say 3 years ago?
No, I see. It's that's the thing, like all these things are, I think I became an adult, yeah, in the last 2 years really. Like before, even with my wife, we were just like, like we feel like kids. Yeah, we are 30, but it's not what we thought adult life is. Yeah, like we have jobs, we make money, but it's not like we have really responsibility. Yeah, like we have a responsibility to ourselves. Like, okay, we'll pay the rent, and I'll be here with you, and we can go wherever together. But yeah, adult life starts. Yeah, it's something else. So yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting how the perspective
yeah.
changes. And how did it like? How did this change? Because you have a wife right now, but you didn't have a wife at the time, right? You were just engaged,
No, we were already
or did
married.
you? Have you
Yeah.
been married already?
Well,
You were already married.
I
Oh,
knew
sorry.
Andrea for I know Andrea now for X amount of years, 13. Insert the right number here.
It's something like this. How did this did the therapy change in a way your relationship in some way?
Uh, there are instances where I realize like our interactions are kind of mirror of me. Uh, so especially
Mm.
like in arguments, yeah, when you think that you're always kind of going and trying to make your point. Well, no, not make your point. Like you have to defend your interests, and that you're the only person who
Mm.
knows what your interest is and what's best for it. And I vividly remember this argument we had, and I was like, "Well, you're going against me," and she was like, "Why would you say that? Like, I'm your wife. I'm trying to help you. Like, why would I be against you? Yeah, or trying to
Mm.
distort you in some way." And then, yeah, at one point in the therapy, it didn't have. We weren't talking with the therapist about anything like with my wife, but yeah, I realized like, yeah, I was actually going against myself in that argument with my wife, and she was trying to help me. Uh, so yeah, it does have an impact on how you perceive any relationship really in your life. Yeah, I think even
Mm.
now, me and you have different conversation than we would have 3 years ago. Yeah, um,
Ah,
yeah.
totally.
With I went through this period where yeah, I would always end up talking about all these therapies and stuff in the last, I don't know, half a year maybe. um, and yeah, it does impact you in a way, quite profoundly. So,
Yeah, I think that the discussions are getting deeper, I would say. And also, I mean, we are two guys talking here. Guys from Czech Republic and Slovakia, they are not supposed to really express much of feelings or cry or talk about our feelings. We're supposed to be these tough dudes that always have their shit together. Um, and if I think about the times when I have talked with my best friends about like really difficult
mm,
moments in their lives, when I've seen them cry, there is only very few of them. But if every single friend I think that I call best friend, I had this moment.
mm,
I think that's why we are best friends in the first place. That we actually connected on this very deep level. But it was almost always only after many beers. Like it's rarely that I would have conversation about tough things or feelings or emotion without
mm.
alcohol. And that I think is changing because now I have this conversation, and I'm a little bit more open about how I express my feelings. Although I found out that it's still just like a tip of the iceberg, and how difficult it is sometimes to talk about
Yeah.
it. Uh,
So,
yeah.
yeah, as you said, like this Czech and Slovakia, or I think it's anywhere really. Like,
Mm,
yeah, men are supposed to be the ones who are tough and kind of have their shit together, whatever. It's just another, you know, way how we've been conditioned as men to perform, and not, kind of bring our feelings forward and our emotions. And it's not good for us, It's, the society shaped us this way, but it's not good for us. It's not natural even, Uh, it's like they put monkeys in a cage together, and they put put a ladder there. And if one monkey starts to climb the ladder, they spray all of them with the cold water. Um, and then the monkeys learn, like, if
mm,
somebody starts to climb, we'll beat them up, so we don't get sprayed with cold water. And slowly, like, they replace all these monkeys one by one. Now all the monkeys, the original monkeys, are gone. There are just like all these new
mm,
monkeys, and they still do that. They have no idea why. They just do it. They are conditioned. Like if somebody climbs the ladder, we're beating them up without being sprayed with cold water. Just to protect
yeah,
ourselves from non-existent threat. And
yeah. That's how society shapes
and
us.
yes, somewhere at some point this started like, oh, men have to be tough, but you know, I had this talk with my friend about this, and I said, I cry almost every day, and he's like, oh yeah, the days I cry are the best. Like I feel the best. Like
That's
you're
true.
true to yourself.
That's
Like
true.
if you feel sad, you
Oh my
can
god.
cry. Like you don't shove it somewhere else. Like, oh, this is the part of me I don't like or want. So
Yeah.
when I started the therapy, and I like all these emotions came in, I had this kind of phrase, or how I would describe it. Like every emotion is imagine it's a box, it's a gift somebody gives you, and
Mm,
you're supposed to open it, look at it, feel it, and then you do something with it. Uh, but if you keep getting these boxes and you just shove them away somewhere into a closet and you close the closet, one day you're going to run out of space, and one day
it
you'll
will be
open it
filled.
and it will just fall everything on you, and it will hit you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is what essentially happened to me. Like for months I was like, well, not months, I remember telling my mom one day, like she was like, oh, like you're so like mechanically driven, like and that was at the start when I was kind of transitioning from my student life to the work life, like, oh, like you don't have emotions. And I was like, emotions make you weak. Like you need to be logical, you need to go forward. You need to, solve problems. And that's what makes you successful. And now I look back and I was like, wow, like that's a strange thing to say. Yeah. Like I was really messed up in the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would consider it like, that makes sense, a few years ago. I wouldn't really question it like, solve problems, get better, be successful, and that's done. Uh, and when you said about the gifts, it's actually, I think this year was the first time, in my life that like somebody made me cry, and I thanked that person.
Mm.
They were like, "Oh, I'm so sorry I made you cry," and I'm like, "No, thank you, thank you," because like I can actually like be here and express and feel and be with my emotions, and I can cry, I can release whatever is in my, and that's so good.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
for some reason, I think I know the reason, but whenever I'm on a plane and I listen to music, that's where a lot of this like tension tends to get released, and there are tears like falling down my face. Um, and I always have this thought like sometimes it just hits me like, like maybe you should watch out, like so people around you don't think like something's wrong. And again, that's just me trying to protect their feelings for no good reason. It's something I've been conditioned to do, since my childhood. And essentially, I then I tell myself, like if somebody stops me and is like, "Are you okay?" I think genuine answer would be like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm sad, but this is the right thing to do. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this." And I then I imagine the plane like full of people crying, and like it would be great. Like if everybody was so honest with
Oh,
themselves that they allow themselves to cry, I think everybody would be happier. Like
yeah.
everybody would be vulnerable with everybody. Yeah, it's like you could stretch it to what I think would appear as totally insane at this point in society. And I don't say it should be that way, but essentially, when you have sex with somebody, you're being very vulnerable with that person. Yeah, you're naked. You allow them
Hmm.
to, a girl could hurt you if she wanted, if you're, just there exposed quite easily. uh,
True.
and yeah, for some reason, we build up these walls where, yeah, there are very strict rules on when and where you can have sex. Yeah. Like the society,
Mm.
people frown upon having, when they see people having sex publicly. Yeah. I mean, of course, it's for some reason, probably you shouldn't have it in front of children or whatever. But
On the
yeah,
main square in London.
yeah, but I think there's so much self restriction in society for again these reasons of like these monkeys. Yeah, like somebody came up with this some time ago, but we don't know why it's actually in place. Yeah, like a lot of it is
Yeah.
passed on by, for example, a religion. Yeah,
Mm.
so yeah, and that's one thing I'm kind of, especially also with sexuality, I'm trying to look for a religion which is like sexuality positive. Yeah, like I've been brought up in a Catholic church, very kind of like strict, like go to church every Sunday and pray, go for a mass, go for absolution and confession or whatever. Yeah, confession every month. We Christmas, Easter, everything, and I think, well, at least in my family, there is a lot of kind of sexual restriction. Yeah, like sex is bad or sex is
Mm.
something dirty, or and that's what you kind of also have in the church. Yeah, like even Bible is something they say like, oh, Eve seduced Adam. Like she did something sinful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sex
Yeah.
is good. It's pleasure. Yeah.
Mm.
It's, you enjoy it. Yeah. But there are all these things people tell you like, it's bad, it's scary or whatever. Yeah.
Because I think it is because it's very there's a lot of like you can have sex and not be vulnerable, I think. And you if you really want to talk about it, you need to be vulnerable because you need to talk about what you want, what you don't want, what you like, what you don't
Oh,
like. And there is so much pre yeah like societal context about what you can and shouldn't do and how you should do it and when you should do it. It's actually very difficult, but it's a funny thing, right? Why I was actually listening. There's some new show on Netflix around sex or pleasure, and then the first part was around pleasure, women pleasure particularly. And they said that, and one of the women said like, yeah, like we should talk more about it. Like if sex is pleasurable, like we need to make sure that everybody has as much of it and can enjoy it as much as they can, because then everybody will be happier. You
yeah.
know, it's so. Oh, yes, we don't really talk about it much. That's
It's
true.
something like hush, hush, like, oh, it's not right, or I think the society is slowly shifting, at least here in the West, like to be more open about it. Yeah, and there is more research about it, like even female bodies and whatnot, and also around the
Mm.
psychology. But yeah, it's something also on my own personal journey, like especially this connection of religion and sexuality is there is something which was definitely not good for me. Yeah, and was making me kind of going against myself, like feeling guilty about sex or yeah.
Yeah, because in the end, I think the only person who knows what's good for you is you. There's nobody else who knows what's good for you because nobody else is in your head. And there's a lot in us that we don't share with the other
Hmm.
world. That we just keep ourselves. Uh, okay, so you were 3 months in the therapy. You did this psychodynamic therapy, and then how did the journey continue?
So I kept doing it. Yeah. So let's say it's October. Then in February, I kind of felt better, and there were some instances or yeah, things happened at work, and they were like, "Oh, maybe you could come back in if you feel all right." And I was like, "Oh, okay, let's try it." Yeah. Uh, and I started working slowly, like first week 20%, second week 40%, and 60, 80, and so on. Um, and then, yeah, I was working, everything's going fine. Um, I think then somewhere in April, I finished the therapy.
Hmm.
Uh, and again, interesting moment. Yeah, I was like, I was in the bedroom and yeah, finished it. And I was like, oh, now I get out of this room and everybody outside wishes me the best and wants me to be happy and is going to be helpful. Yeah.
Mm.
And then, yeah, 2, 3 months, we were supposed to even have a catch up with the therapist after like 3 months passed by. And yeah, after maybe like 3 months, I started to struggle a bit with like stressful situations or, yeah, kind of, yeah, something wasn't right again. Yeah. Uh, and then funnily enough, the day I kind of realized I'm struggling and I probably should seek help is where the therapist wrote me like, oh, here's our check-in. Maybe you want to have a check-in session. And I was like, yes. Then it, then
Oh,
it,
that's nice.
yeah, again, universe, like,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and then, yeah, I think it took a month or month and a half to actually get to a session because I was traveling and whatnot. Then we restarted and I asked for, I think, yeah, 6 sessions, not just one. Uh, and I finished again somewhere in January. And I think the learning from the second bit of sessions was, you know, in the first block, I learned what happened to me as a child, how it conditioned me, what it's making me do, and have the conscious knowledge and kind of try to change it. Yeah. And you can, it's quite helpful, like you can go forward with that. But there is something which I wasn't aware of. Yeah. In the second block, I learned that I tend to relive the past traumas. Like it's actually playing in my head. Um, and yeah, that was a great realization. Like, oh shit, yeah, like I'm reliving it with whatever happens to me when it's something which I don't like. I relive these past experiences. Yeah.
Is that something that was happening already like before the first therapy, or is it something that was like triggered by the therapy?
No, it was happening before. It's just
you didn't know.
Yeah, you don't know. Like it's the therapy is about getting consciousness or knowledge about yourself and like how you operate or how your head operates. And this was the thing, like, oh, okay, I relive it. And then really like consciously you can turn it off. It's hard, but you can turn it off. Or try. Like I still catch myself sometimes in these spirals. Like I've been thinking about, having these fake arguments in my head with either my, people around me or people I interact with on a daily basis, and they are just in my head. Like they're never real, and I'm defending myself, and I'm always trying to make my point. I'm just like, yeah, this is not real. Like this is not happening, but I'm making myself, to relive it. Yeah, all these. It's the past kind of representing itself in the present. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But once you have that knowledge, you are kind of like, all right. This is hard. You don't have to do this. And, maybe think of the time you went for a really nice holiday and how that's been, and try to immerse yourself in that. Yeah.
I need to think about it now. You completely spin my head because I'm thinking like, I think I sometimes do that too.
Like, everybody does that.
Like, right? And I think it's something that I don't know how I actually came to this skill, but and I'm not saying I'm perfect at it by any means, but I often like as I'm thinking about something, I can catch myself and be like, why are you thinking about this? Like, stop. This is not like doing any good to you. Like you're thinking about your thinking essentially. And that helped me especially a lot with everything that was going on because, I think there's like this difference between feelings, like feel what you can feel anything. Like actually we had a conversation with Fixo and I was telling him like, there's something happening with my friends and their lives is changing and I'm feeling sad about it because I have this fear in myself that I'm kind of they're kind of moving to new phase of their lives. Actually that friend is you and Andy. We didn't have this conversation, so we can have it now. And basically, I was in London. Let's put it in the context. We actually went for a talk like this in a bar, had some nice beers, and then you told me that Andrea is pregnant, right? And then a few weeks, or then maybe even like 1-2 weeks afterwards, I had called with Andy, and he was visiting our friend Fedor, who also he already has a kid, and he was like, "Yeah, Erica is also pregnant." And I was on the call and I was so close to cry. And I didn't. And I also think like, maybe I should have cried, but I didn't want to cry because like, I didn't want to hurt him. I was like, this is such a nice moment for him. And I don't want to crush it with my like feelings and how I feel. And I thought that I feel, that it's difficult because Liz is not here and I cannot have family with her. uh, and I cannot talk about it with her. But then I actually realized that there is another part of it, and that's that when Fedor had a baby, we were celebrating with Liz, and Liz was with me in my phase, and now like all my friends are moving to a next phase, and I'm here alone. But I also don't have Liz who was with me, and I didn't care that much about it before because I had somebody who was going. It was in my life stage with me basically, and then on the top of it, Andy said something that was like, I was like, you fucking asshole. And he was like, yeah, it's like we have agreed on this, that we all gonna have babies at the same times. And I was like, yes, we did, like whatever, 5 years ago when we said we're gonna have all babies within 2 years, and it's like, so I was angry and I was sad and oh my god, and just and I oh, there was so many feelings, and I was like, I don't want to feel bad for my friends because I'm happy for them, but I also have this much sadness in me. And I talk about it with Fixo, and he's like, yeah, but you know that your friends won't, you won't stop talking to them, and they won't leave you. They just gonna be different, and you cannot think about this way. And I'm like, no, I can. I have these are my feelings. I'm feeling it. I'm not saying they are right. I'm not saying it's correct. I'm just feeling it, and I want to be able to say it to my friends, and I want to be able to feel it, right? And then there's the other part. It's like when you constantly think about it, and you think about how you're gonna not be able to talk to your friends, and how you're gonna be alone. That's wrong. Like being in that spiral when you are constantly thinking about it. I think that's dangerous. But on the other hand, you also have to be able to actually say it, and to feel that feeling, which is uncomfortable. And it's also more uncomfortable because when you talk to people and you tell them this, they are like, yeah, you cannot think about it this way. Like, yeah. So
they're essentially
yeah.
denying your feelings, yeah, when they say that. I think you have very valid feeling of you feel lonely because it might seem like somebody's leaving you because they'll care, they have another person to care for now. um, and yeah, it's quite likely that person will be more important to them than a friend, yeah.
For sure, for sure.
And I completely understand, yeah, like from your point of view, like the feeling of, yeah, extreme loneliness then triggered, and also with the loss of Liz, yeah, that's something very hard. Like you don't have, as you said, somebody to share this with, yeah. And it's, again, to me, it's even to a certain sense logical, or yeah, you feel sad about it because you look at it from your own perspective, yeah. So your best friend tells you, "Oh, I'm gonna have a baby," and again, the conditioned reaction would be like, "Yes, great, like I'm so happy for you, and yeah, I'll be there. I'll be a great uncle. I'll buy them toys and whatever." But you're actually like, "Oh shit, what about me now?" Like,
Yeah.
and it's I understand how that's scary, even in a sense, and it might seem as, yeah. I think the way I would suggest to approach it is, at one point when it actually happens and the kids are born, it's quite likely that, my head and under his head will be, priorities. But I think
Sure.
always it will be, of course, we have friends and we want to spend time with them. And I think maybe you'll need to learn to be even more vulnerable with us. And that vulnerability would be like, "Oh, guys, I'd like to see you. I'd like to talk to you. Like, can we talk?" And I think nobody will say no. Yeah, like we'll be there for you. It's just for us, it will be, yeah, almost impossible to, or yeah, close to it, to be like, are all my friends all right? It will be like, is this a human being? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And if somebody raises a hand, I think it's like when I don't want to say this. Well, it's kind of like that actually. Like if the baby cries, it wants attention, yeah. But the adult
Sure.
human is able to say, like I'm vulnerable, like I need some love. Can can we spend some time together, And
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? Like I think and there are like two things, right? One is that among how often, and I think I do that as well. How often somebody like share his or her feelings, and people are like, "You gotta think about it this way. Like you cannot feel this way. You can, and if you tell me not to feel this way, then I'm not gonna be vulnerable next time because like." You don't want to do it because you feel bad that they're like, okay, maybe I cannot feel this way, so I'm just gonna keep it to myself. And then the other thing is, and there's this book from Brené Brown about vulnerability, and they describe very nice that when guys or men feel hurt, that their like two primary reaction to goes to is either you are angry and you like whatever smash things, or like I'm not like angry in a violent way, but I'm angry in a very passive aggressive way, uh, and I notice it so much, like actually somebody told me already like 3 years ago, and I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever, that's not just my sarcastic humor, but no, it's just me being hurt and trying to hurt the other person so I feel better. And then the other one, that's isolation, right? When you just like leave out. Uh, and that's why I think it's, you said it like, when therapists did the checking and it was like the universe. And that's why I, at one point, told my friends that it's important to just once in a while write to your friends, because we didn't used to do it very much. Like a few years ago, like we would basically talk, I don't know, once a half year, and then we would go for a trip, and then we share everything, and it will be very deep, perfect experience. I love these trips. I have great memories, and they were awesome. But it's sometimes good, to, like once in a while, to reach out to people, because I think especially for guys, like if you have a problem, you're like, okay, I'm just gonna keep it to myself, and then okay, if somebody talks to you, they're like, okay, yes,
yeah.
So, and I'm not suggesting that you have to write to all of your friends every week, but I think it's I'm trying to do it as a habit to think, and once in a while to check in people, and just so I know that what's up, and
I mean,
and put a little bit more effort.
Yeah, it's a conscious effort. It's funny enough that you say that, like, checking in and kind of, keep the contact going. Like, I used to be with Fedor, especially, like, we would never ever chat like online. Like, it wasn't just us, and we even consciously said, like, when we met, like, like we don't talk for sometimes 6 months, 9 months, and then we meet, and it's like you restarted where you stopped,
Mm-hmm.
And funnily enough, when I had the burnout and when I didn't work, somehow we got into a conversation and started to talk about this, and even since then, like now we have, I think, more of these check-ins, and it's much better, I think. Like we share things even through this now. So I think it's partially also because he has a kid, and I don't think now we'll see him in or you're going to South America. I'll see him in Lisbon, but
I'll be in Lisbon.
will you?
Side talk. Yes, I will.
Okay, great. I almost booked my flights today. I just need to check holiday with my boss.
We will talk about it later.
So the check-ins are nice. Even with Siwa, we created this like weekly exercise routine, like Wednesday morning.
I remember.
It's been quite nice. It does help also, like especially with Fedor. It was when I was really in the midst of like, I don't want to return to my job, and I couldn't imagine like my job is my passion. And he was like, oh yeah, my job is my passion. Like to have that somebody say like, oh, that can be real, like they really like their job. So it's possible.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that helped a lot. He probably doesn't even know that him saying that has helped so much.
Oh, he has these
Yeah.
sentences. I heard a couple of two that stick with
Yeah.
me forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you said another thing in where was it? At one point, you talk about the sad people on the plane that are crying, and it's actually a happy moment. And you know what I learned through the whole grieving process is what I don't think many people really realize, and that's you can be very sad and very happy in the same moment. Like I was truly happy. Like, I was happy for you and Andy to have children. And I'm still happy for it. From bottom of my heart. But I'm also sad, and it's like at the same time. It's not like, and I think people they are like, oh, I want to be happy. But first of all, you will never be always happy. Forget that, because life can turn up upside down in no time, and there are shitty things happening in the life, and we will all face some type of loss, whether it's job or somebody's going to die or you're going to lose something that you care so much about. Doesn't really matter, but it will happen, and there are happy moments, right? And we should cherish them. Uh, but there's like a lot of other emotions, and you're gonna feel them as well. Uh, and that actually, and then I have a question
Mm.
for you. So, do you think that people should actually do you think that the goal of a person should be that they want to be happy in life?
It's a good question. I think it's a question of balance, I guess. You can't be happy all the time, as you said. Like you're not even wired to be happy all the time. Your brain is actually looking for danger most of the time, yeah, and trying to keep you
Mm,
from it. Then you have these little sprouts of where you're actually happy. Uh, and these hits of like the positive chemicals you get in your brain, whether it's dopamine or whatever, serotonin, like there are diminishing returns when you have exposure to the same thing over and over again. So it's not
right.
like you can find constant happiness. Like if you find one thing which makes you happy, you didn't know it was making you happy before. Like I don't know, I would now realize that yeah, like
Pillow fights make you
yeah,
very happy.
yeah, pillow fighting makes me really happy. Uh, then I'll do it every day. Probably it wouldn't make me that happy, every time I do it, if I've done it every day. Yeah. So once in a time, it makes sense. But yeah, the return from it, the marginal return would be diminishing. Yeah. As I've done it now once, and it's actually limited kind of time offer for that class. It's like 2 or 3 weeks. It's fun. It's good fun. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit like what is pillow fighting class about?
Well, it's in a boxing ring. You go. You have a little bit of a warm up, as you would have for a boxing class, like with shadow boxing, uppercuts, and whatnot.
Like with small pillows, you're like
Well,
bashing them around.
no. You just have just use your fists and no pillows, and then you grab the pillow and then go smash somebody or something. Yeah. In my case, it was I was the only person in the class, so I had to hit a bag with a pillow. But essentially, it feels quite good. Like I had these fights with my brother when we were younger, like crazy fights, yeah, and smashing each other with whatever, yeah, just releasing energy and anger uh, to the point, yeah, where our parents were quite worried. But it was playful and fun, and that's how we, I think, released all the anger which was inside of us, and yeah.
True. That's why we felt so good when we were throwing iron metal tubes out of your car.
Yeah,
Last weekend.
that's another thing. Yeah, imagine. I don't know if you saw it there. I probably saw it. Like the. I know you didn't. There was a. If you look in the backyard of the garden, which we've done on Saturday,
Mm.
yeah, there was a pile of wood, and that was gone. I think. Oh yeah, you were already there, but you weren't there at the start when it was really big. And
Mhm.
at the end of the day, we got rid of the wood, we got rid of the metal, and I looked back into the garden. It's like, oh, we've done something today. Like we achieved something. Like it's cleaner here, yeah, and you can see it, and we've done it by our hands. Like it's very different from when you sit behind a computer and push numbers in an Excel sheet. Yeah, like you
Mm.
shut down the computer at the end of the day, and you go home, and you are like, what's the result of my work today? Like you can't you,
Oh
you
yeah.
can't see even the traders on the trading floor where I work. I'm sure when they make $1 million in a day, they don't see it. It's not like you can use $1 million in a day, or you have a utility from $1 million a day money. Uh, that's it changes your life, yeah. But this
Hmm.
changes your life. Like you see your garden, like, oh, it's gotten better, yeah. I always thought, like, especially with my in-laws, they are very much into gardening and like all this stuff and always remodeling and whatnot. And I always thought, like, it is so unproductive, like if you use your time wisely, like you could make so much more money. And now I'm kind of like, gardening sounds fucking great. like, uh,
Let's get some
yeah.
bonsais.
No, I want to get these terrariums. I'll show you. It's even better than bonsais. I will go for a class for it in Notting Hill. Uh, yeah,
Nice.
it's like this thing where you put yeah, a little tree or whatever, a plant into, yeah, like level layers of soil. You put some moss in it as well, put some water in it, and you close it, and
Hmm.
then you just leave it for like 3 months. You don't have to water it. It has like its own ecosystem and microclimate where the water evaporates, then rains, evaporates, rains, up and down. And yeah, then you open it after 3 months, check if you need to add more water, and it looks amazing. It's really great.
Nice. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to look this up.
Yeah. So,
Um,
yeah, we saw like we've done so much, and we felt like knackered and tired, and yeah, like all the energy was drained from us. Yeah, at least the physical one. That was great. Yeah. Um, Again, the marginal return for me, at least, it was a little bit smaller than the first time I've done it 2 weeks ago. Yeah, like back then, I literally went around the house and like everything, like all these little quick fixes you can do, and they make so much difference. I already done them, and like you could see, like, oh yeah, now you can walk around the
mhm.
house. You don't have to like bend down for like the branches of the trees and whatnot. What we've done for 30 years, because that's how my grandparents wanted it, I guess. Um, yeah, so that's it's interesting to see, like, even, and this is a, as you say, podcast about broken compass, and I have to say, yeah, I was wondering where my life is heading for the last, I don't know, few years. Yeah, I was like, oh, should I switch a job? No, this is a safe job. It pays well. Should I go somewhere else? Blah blah blah, and I kind of felt stuck. Yeah, and that's what
Mhm.
also you mentioned this book also with Fixo, which I recommended him, and to you as well. Yeah, this how to do the work. Yeah, like people describe it as
Mhm.
like being stuck, and now
Yeah.
I think with all these things, like we bought a house, we're remodeling it, we're expecting a kid. Like that feeling of stuckness is gone. Yeah, like we're moving somewhere. It's not necessarily something for me personally, as like it's not just for me. Like my whole family benefits from this, so I need to still find something where that's for me, whether it's my job or whatever I do as a profession or passion. And I'm still looking for it. And I guess that's still a long process ahead. But yeah, the feeling of being stuck is gone just by these changes in life. So yeah, I think that's a good start. Yeah, even
to buy a house and have a baby. It's like, if you feel stuck, get a house, get a baby, quit your job, and at that moment you'll figure it out.
So of course it's easier said than done. Yeah, and we are all also lucky in a way that we can get the house in and relatively lots of space. Because of a help from family, and not everybody has that luxury, and we are quite aware of that. But still, like, I would be the person who 4 years ago would tell you, and even 1 year ago probably would tell you, like, I'm never buying property. Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't give you returns. You're better investing in stocks, and owning property is just a hassle. And I've been brought up in a family where we've done a lot of like manual work around the house, fixing all like our plumbing and just doing a lot. Yeah, like that was our weekends. Like, we would go here and there for holidays. I'm pretty sure just like other people, not that we would have less holidays, but a lot of the weekends where we are redoing the plumbing from the house to the street. Like, that would be weekend. Or we are fixing an engine of Skoda 105. Or and I would be helping my dad with that and handing him tools and kind of just watching what he's doing. He thought it's a great learning lesson for me. I was just bored.
And now you're like, it will come handy.
And he thought how great of an engineer probably he'll make me. And I was like, no, my two parents are construction engineers. I'm never being engineer of any kind. So I went to study economics and finance. But now that I can physically do something, I haven't done it probably for a good 15 years. It gives me pleasure and joy, and kind of seeing that I can change things with my own hands. And also it's job, or it's work outside, which again I tend to work inside, especially like I can't take my laptop and be on a bench in a park because my battery will run out. So it's nice, to be able to change things also outside, not just inside, and see the difference.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned also one thing is, and that's about what does being productive actually mean, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that there was a process where you now consider other things productive that haven't been before. That's what I heard, right?
So I would be like, gardening, fuck that. Now it actually adds value, like to my life, to people around me who will one day enjoy also the garden. I hope you guys come to visit, and we'll be there. Like, that's my image of the house. Like, I'm standing there, like in the door of this hallway. We were sitting there, and like all my friends and like family are just chilling there on the terrace outside, drinking wine, and jumping into the pool. And
oh yeah, the pool. For sure.
So
So let's go a little bit back. So now you have you have fixed your compass today. You know where you're heading.
Well, let's at least a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there is always an I don't know, right? But I think that I've been lost before in my life, and I don't think like if you feel like, okay, I have a direction and know where I'm going, there still can be a lot of unknowns, but it doesn't mean like that was my experience before. It just I don't know what's the direction right now. Like the compass is broken, motherfucker, and and I stand to fix it. But in between the time, right? That today when you actually are moving from UK to Slovakia and the second therapy, what happened in between that time?
Let's say it's really then between December and now. But so I think, and this has a lot to do with you actually. Funnily enough, something changed when you were in London, and we had this discussion uh, in the pub. And again, oh, you were part of the universe at that point, and up to that point, and the days around that, I was always feeling like I'm on defense. Like
Mm.
there is still some danger, and yeah, there is something, maybe I have to protect myself from something terrible happening. And we talked about this thing, and I had a few beers, you had a few beers, and we talked about, yeah, I was saying that you have a parent figure within your head, and you have the child figure within your head, and then somehow yeah, I don't know how it came to the thing exactly, but essentially, as I was brought up as Catholic, I asked you, like, what do you think is the spirit of a person? Yeah, uh, and you explained it to me, especially with like the Liz example. Like her spirit is here, like she's still here, and like yeah.
Yeah.
And at that moment, something clicked to me, like okay. And I don't want to condone Catholicism because I don't think it's completely right, but at least for me, as somebody in my head, where this Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, it's like it's pressed into your head for last, I don't know, or maybe I was active Catholic for 20 years. Um,
Mm.
it clicked, like oh yeah, the father is the parental figure within my head, the one which drives you, which makes you perform, which like says like this and that. And the son is the child, the inner child, like even from the book of like how to do the work, like the true you who wants to enjoy and kind of play. And yeah, and yeah, the spirit is something which has impact on other people and is your, yes, your inherence, or it's inherently embedded in you. It has impact on people, and you can feel it, yeah, but on not physical level, on some like transcendent level, yeah, like it's spirituality. Yeah, that's what we talked about, like yeah, explaining spirituality. And I think since that moment, spirituality, again, it has a lot to do with, I mean, religions kind of have spirituality, but something clicked in my head. And funnily enough, then you left to the bathroom and a song came on, which I used to like, and I forgot it exists. And now I listen to that song like multiple times a day, and it makes
What's the name of the song? What's the name of the song? What is it about?
it's Kids by Kids by MGMT.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, even within the song, like there are lyrics which I would usually not focus on the lyrics of any song, but which are all of a sudden very relatable and yeah, very uh, self-compassionate. And since then, I mean, today and maybe last 5 days, I'm not doing as great, or yeah, I've been through some trouble sometimes, but let's say 2 weeks prior to that, like since you left, I felt like I was on top of the world. Like I was like, oh, this is what life is supposed to feel like. Like I'm on the offense now. Like I know like where to go. Like I know like this is how you're supposed to feel and live life. Yeah. And it was amazing.
Wow.
It was amazing. Yeah.
You're making me cry now. It's so great. I'm so happy.
So thanks for that. Like yeah, this terrible thing happened. Yeah. And when I heard the news, so like I was shocked and whatnot. And you've gone through all this thing, and I think you dealt with it. I can't imagine like how better you could deal with it. And then you come to London, you visit me, and you say these things which, like, yeah, connected to her, which, yeah, it kind of fixed my life.
She would be happy. Liz would be happy to hear that. Oh, she's hearing it probably somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I say. Like, yeah, her spirit is here. Like,
yeah. And I've dealt with is I'm still dealing with it, right? And I think I don't know if it'll ever stop. And the other thing is, yeah, that's the thing. Like, some people are like, "You're doing it. You're dealing with this so good," and you're like, "Well, does that mean I didn't like her enough? So I'm kind of okay, or is there a scale of how well you can do with these things, and like what does good mean? Like, it's sometimes people say these things, and I know they don't mean it bad, but it's like just like it makes you think like, there's like not a good or bad way to deal with it. There is just dealing with it in some way, whatever way it is for you, because it's always very individual. And by the way, going back to the fact that you said I'm not feeling that great today, is it's that's life. Sometimes you don't feel that great, and it's for me, as like before I went to Bratislava, I'm calling it now the grief out. That's what I call it. You're grieving out, and I felt like crap, and there was like, I think it was just a phase, and then some things around it, and then all the things that we talk about, you and Andy, that open up in the therapy, and then some other people not responding to me, and like a lot of these things, and I think I'm learning how to make sure that sometimes life sucks, and sometimes you're feeling bad, and sometimes I don't know, I spent that week, at least 1 to 1.5 hours of getting out of bed, like on general. But I also learned like just to like, screw it. I am taking this time. I'm feeling it. Whatever. I'm giving myself, like I'm letting myself to be with this, and not be angry about, or not feeling bad that I feel bad, or anything like that. And I even managed to like afterwards go like 1 or 2 days for run. That makes me feel even run, like when I was running and I wanted to run like 5K, and I ran 3, and my Fitbit somehow got broken or something, and it stopped measuring my run, and I was like, damn it, it stopped measuring my run, and I was like, I'm not running anymore, screw this. But I was staying there, I'm like, but you know what, actually I do feel better than like 20 minutes ago or whatever, 15 minutes ago when I started running. I was like, maybe that's enough. Maybe I just need to get a walk today. And that goes with what you were saying in the beginning, right? Like, be kind to yourself. And that means that sometimes not every day is perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I have these words of affirmations like pop up on my phone. There's an app for that, like a widget. And one of them is, you survived 100% of your bad days.
Wow. That's good. I like it.
Like that gives you such a strength. Like if you realize all the shit you've been through.
Yeah.
Like each one of us is a fucking strong person.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would add to it, everything will like nothing lasts forever,
Yeah.
There's this video with like some famous actors, one of I don't know who is there, like some really famous actors, and they are like, this too shall pass, and you feel bad about losing your job, this too shall pass, and they're like, this too shall everything shall pass, uh, and it's shitty advice to hear it, but it's true, like even if you have a really long horrible period, at one point it will get better,
Yeah.
it will pass. So
Yeah, that's
and you survived it.
that's the thing. Yeah, what I realize now, yeah, that was another one of the words of affirmations. Like, yeah, accept to yourself, or kind of be compassionate with yourself, that you're going through bad times, but the length of this is limited. Yeah, like you'll come out on the other end. I think what for me was very hard with the burnout, like especially in the beginning, maybe the first 6 to 9 months, it's like you don't know when it's gonna end.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
like you're actually panicking all the time. Like, I don't want to feel this way. When is it gonna end? Make it stop right now, yeah. Or when will it stop? Yeah. And I think, yeah, what I experienced, like this almost euphoria, yeah, when you were here, and then like the couple of weeks after you left, it's like, oh, I know it can stop. Like, it's amazing. Like, now I know there is. That was the first time, like, since the last probably, yeah, 2 years maybe. Yeah, that's it was like, oh yeah, like you can be at peace. Uh, and yeah, it can take 2 years. Like it's crazy amount of time. Like that's what uh, percentage of your life. Yeah, 4% of your life in theory. So
Yeah. Yeah, those things. Some things takes a lot of time, but it's not like you're horrible. You're feeling horrible like all 2 years, right? There are like bright moments in between. It's not.
very little. It's yeah,
Huh?
it tends to get, yeah, quite dark, and like it has more proclivity, or kind of, it tends to go, at best you're neutral, or like if you're on a scale from -100 to +100, you're never in positive, or like you're maybe +1, uh, and you tend to be like in -20 like all the time. But when all of a sudden you're at like +99, you're like, this is great. When you haven't been there for 2 years, yeah, that's
Holy shit!
yeah.
I didn't know, man. I didn't know you were. That's difficult. You don't see it on people
Yeah,
like who are so good at putting on these masks.
like we were living with my in-laws from December 2020 to February 2021. We were just staying there. Like Andra could work from home. I was not working, and I remember, yeah, like my mother-in-law said to my mother, and it then got to me somehow, that yeah, my mother-in-law could see me every day, like since the moment I wake up till I go to sleep, and she would be like, "He seems fine. Like, why is he not working? Like, what's up with him? Yeah, like I don't see anything wrong with him." And at that point, probably even I didn't realize like what everything is actually going on in my head, and how, yeah, fucked up I am. And yeah, it's just, it doesn't have to be apparent to the person, to the people around you. Yeah, if you don't express it, if you're not being vulnerable, if you protect yourselves by not sharing it. Like now, I tend to be much, well, I'm not best at it, and it's still a skill I'm learning. Like, actually express stuff to my wife. Like, okay, you know what? This hurts me. I don't agree with this. I don't want this way. And this doesn't make me happy. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what I felt, and I was like sharing some stuff like last week with some people. I was like, how I had to manage so hard to like, how I'm gonna share it in a way that I'm not sharing from place when I'm hurt and I'm just wanna like kind of passive aggressive way. I just wanna hear you, but how I'm gonna say like, okay, this is. I was very like I was trying to write down like clearly like I feel this. This is how it makes me feel. This is what I observe. I don't understand it. Like, help me explain. Like having that compassion and trying to be like, this is how I feel. I just want to share it. Like, what do you think about it? And then often you find out that maybe you just like you explain what is happening around you in a different way than what it is actually, right? But it doesn't mean that you don't feel whatever you feel, right? So I think that's it's, man, difficult thing to do as a guy.
We are white males, Caucasian. I mean, our privilege is the biggest it can be in the world. Yet we are here, and we are hurt. We are, struggling, and I do feel for everybody else, of course. But I think it might be that we struggle, kind of in silence, I guess, or I guess it might be even considered politically incorrect. Yeah, like, oh, these young white guys in their 30s complain that their life is not perfect,
and they cannot share their feelings.
Yeah.
And there are people starving on the other side of the world.
Or people are there is institutional racism, and like let's deal with that first. Like, kind of, of course, but
yeah, but I mean, like, if everybody could express their feelings, like, I think world will be a better place, because like there would be a lot less misunderstanding and more understanding amongst people, right? And it doesn't go that there are other problems in the world. Of course there are. But I think it's also important that everybody, like, I mean, the thing is, like, if you don't, like, right, we talk about it, if you don't share your feelings, what do you do as a guy? You either withdraw, and that's usually bad for you, or you are being aggressive. So, is that all the wars and stuff? I don't know. Who knows? But maybe it's part of it. Hurt people are doing things, right? So
hurt people. Yeah, that's
yeah. Somebody actually told me once, you have the opportunity to stop the hurting cycle or whatever was it. I was like, yeah, but that needs a lot of awareness, so
there's something interesting my dad told me when I finished the job in the rehab in Switzerland. He said, one day this will save this family. And at that point, it stuck with me, but it didn't have a meaning. Yeah, like, it was like, it's interesting that he said that, but what does this mean? I think, coming back now after my own experience and me being, in therapy, it had an effect. Like, even that experience, that I would accept therapy as, the right treatment, and then being able to break the cycle within the family of, like, not all the, but a lot of the negative things we are conditioned to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like, if I wouldn't be around people who would go to therapy because they were going through difficult stuff, I will be much more difficult for me to reaching out. Just the fact that I saw it and they were talking about it, that already helped me. Like, okay, well, actually, when everything happened with Liz, like there wasn't even a question if I will or not will go to therapy. I know, like, I will go to therapy. Um, that was just a question of how I will time it, and but I was like, yes, this is I have to do it. It's not even like it's not even option. Like you get hurt, you go to doctor. You don't feel mentally okay. Um, you go to a therapist or psychologist, whatever we call it, right? And there's so many things people don't know about themselves that I still don't know about myself, right? It's like this unknown box above my head, and there's like slowly some shit dripping on you,
Yeah.
making you dirty, and you need to wash it out. And like most of the people don't even, it's like these videos, these prank videos, when there's somebody like washing their head in the shower, and then they're almost finished, and then some guy like puts more shampoo in their head, and they're like keep washing, and they're like, what the fuck is happening? And like 1 minute goes in there, they're like, this is crazy, what's happening? And it's like, that's exactly what's happening. Like, there's this unknown stuff coming on you, and you're like, and until you look above and you're like, oh, there's a box and there's stuff coming out of it on me. It's hard to deal with it.
Yeah. So here's a interesting question for you. Where would you say you're on your journey? You asked me the same question, yeah, but I had the benefit of a retrospect. Now, you know, in 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, when you'll listen to this again, it will be maybe interesting to see.
There's a lot unknown, which it's hard to assess. But on the other hand, like, I'm talking and I'm aware of a lot more emotions. I wasn't able to cry. I can cry sometimes. I can even cry in public sometimes, which is like, what if, like, that's strange. And, and I'm trying to think about, okay, do I do things, am I being passive aggressive? Am I in isolation? Am I treating myself bad? Of course, there are situations when I do that and I don't even realize, right? And am I overcompensating? Because I was doing a lot of things to, overcompensate, whatever it was, like snooze and alcohol, or just like watching TV shows or playing video games, because they were like, okay, partially each of those things I liked, and each of those things made me a little bit happy or like, provide me with some on, but they also, like, most of the times they were just escape from some pain, that I didn't want to deal with. And now I still do that. Like, few days ago, I was just scrolling through YouTube like mindlessly for, I don't know, hour. But at least I was aware. I was like, okay, I know why I did it. Like, I just like, I didn't want to deal with anything. Yeah. And this was, it's not, great. But at the same time, I didn't try to be hard on myself and be like, bad you scrolled 1 hour from it. No, it's just happened, and then you can like take it on a more level. Okay, well, next time, do I really want to do it? And like, does it really make me happy? And if I do something else, will I feel better? And you can improve your choices, right?
Okay, yeah. Just listen to it in 10 years.
I'll be different. I don't know. Who knows? There's a lot of things you don't know, right? But it also depends what kind of journey, right? Like, I don't know, journey of, I don't even know what I want to, like, a lot of, since Liz, a lot of things change. Like, I perceive things differently. And that's why I also do this podcast, right? Because I don't really know what I like, what my passion is. It's not like I don't know at all. I know a little bit, but I'm like, why I am doing what I am doing, like, what's the bigger goal? Of course, I can run and I feel better. It's great. But why, like, is that it? Is that it? Like, I'm feeling good after run. That's it. That's like, there must be something more, right? And I don't know what is it right now. Mm-hmm. So, or what I don't even know. Like, it's not that I don't know what is it. That's not the problem. It's the problem is I don't know which direction is it. Like, like you look at a compass, you're like, show me, and it's not working. So, Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Maybe there was this concept in the how to do the work, the future self journaling. Yeah. I don't know if you ever done
Hmm.
that. I haven't like actively, but I think there is something about it which has kind of a like a self coaching aspect to it. Yeah, that the book gives you a way to heal from the past, but I think this part gives you a way to go forward. Yeah, like you can ask
Hmm.
yourself, you know, where or what I want to be, and you know, maybe you don't have an answer, but maybe it's like, you know, throwing darts somewhere and like asking yourself these questions, like, you know, do I want to? That's what's coming up to my mind. Like recently, as
Uh-huh.
you know, we've been doing this gardening, and I realized, like, you know, doing stuff outside is great. It's like, how could I incorporate that to my life? Like today, I got out of the gym. I was like,
Hmm.
are there jobs which I could do outside? And the only job which came to my mind is what my dad used to do, like a construction supervisor, which I don't want to do.
Like,
But
or you can be you actually. I have a job for you. You can be a garbage man, and you have already tried
yeah,
it, and, you,
I
and
loved
it
it,
went pretty
and I
well. So.
loved it. Uh, uh, the problem there would be that's what my mother conditioned me, you know, like avoid my whole life. So I think internally in my mind, she would be punishing me all the time, like you're just a trash collector, uh, and that wouldn't be good for my mental health. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, what are the jobs outside? You know, like you also want kind of like a prominent job, like you already kind of learn to some standards. So you are like, yeah, I want to be outside. I want to, it needs to have like some physical aspect. And what comes to my mind is like being a therapist, but not having an office, like going for walks with clients or whatever, or like going to exercise.
Yeah.
Like again, the book, she calls herself the holistic psychologist. Yeah. Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, being some sort of like holistic, like, yeah, life. I hate the word coach because I don't
Yeah,
hate.
it's been misinterpreted many
Yeah,
often. Yeah.
yeah, it's something like overhyped. Yeah, but
Mm.
yeah, a helper, a holistic helper, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. When I think about helper, I always think about like some little tiny guy with a hammer, that's going around. It's like fixing things. But yeah, I get you. I get you.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, no, for sure. That's journaling. Hmm. I will have to look at it. That sounds like that's a good idea. Actually, that's a good idea. And I think the other thing is, I don't think it's something that like what I learned through all my journey, if at least being here, is giving more time to things. Like 'cause we're from this generation where we want everything right now. Like you want to buy your iPhone and you want it here today. Maybe better, like in an hour. Like give it to me in an hour, uh, and or maybe give it to me even before you gave it to me. Before I think about it, like ring already my
yeah.
door and get me that iPhone.
Actually, this might be, you
Uh,
know, kind of connected because we are not even conditioned at, you know, this day and age to know what we want. We get so much marketing in our face, like you want this, you want this,
mm,
you need this, you want this, you want this, you want this, you maybe want this, you know, like this would make change your life, but it's somebody else trying to sell you something and get money out of you. Those things don't change your life. Like you, only you can change your life.
yeah.
And we
Mm,
are just not
yeah.
used to think about that. Yeah. Like, what do we want for ourselves?
I totally agree. Yeah. Yeah, so you don't need that much stuff. And things really, like, some things like it's funny, like people tell you, young people, they are so rushed and they like want to do everything now. And now I'm like, I'm getting more chill. I'm like, there are some decisions and I'm like, I don't need to take them right now. I can like leave it, and I don't need to know everything right now, and that's why I also took 6 months of my job, because it will be a journey. Maybe I'll figure out the first day I'll get there, and I'll like suddenly know what I want to do. Like, I don't think so, but maybe it will happen, and I'll cancel the trip. Um, but I'm pretty sure in 6 months there will be, even just getting to this trip was like, you talked about universe, and there was so many moments when I was just like, everything just basically like slowly started pointing me to the direction. I was like, I have to do this, right? Actually, I said, I feel like I have to do this. That's something that I would never say, like, whatever, 5-10 years ago. I would never say, like, I feel I need to do this. Like, I feel this is the right thing to do. And I feel like, there's more. There is also like I rationally think about it, right? There's like some pros and cons, and there's a little bit of analysis. But there's also this like, sometimes you feel, you just know, like, I have to do this, and I know it's the right thing, and I know I didn't figure it out. I know there's a risk, but I have to do it.
No, it's good to practice that. I think there's a good example of that. Yeah, everybody should do this. Like, you can't just make calculated decisions. You're not a robot. Yeah. And I think it's a learnable skill. And it's a learnable skill to an extent where, I don't know if you've seen this movie, probably not, but I highly recommend to watch it. It's about these guys it was Thailand, yeah, who got the young football team, which got stuck in a cave, which was flooded. Like, I don't know how many years ago, 7? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
So they made a movie about how they rescued them. And
Oh, really?
it's absolutely crazy. Like, you never knew that these things happened, like, and how they got them out. Like, one day they just announced, oh, they are out, but you didn't know how they got out. And there was also a lot of like spiritual and kind of emotional aspect to it. And I think the coach, was handling the team very nicely, and like even the guys, the young boys themselves, like, by being brought up in an environment of the prevalent religion there, I think it is Hinduism or Buddhism or whatever there, it gives you more kind of awareness of yourself, more than what tends to be in the Western culture with like Catholicism or whatever. And the strangest thing, when I watched it, they brought a monk, and apparently the area, the part of nature there, the mountains, there's this story which they tell themselves around it, and they somehow connected it to that. And this monk came, and he was supposed to give some blessings and give these bracelets for them to wear, or something like that. But he was like really long practicing monk, really old, really wise looking, and he said that the boys will be saved, but 2 lives will be sacrificed, and that's what's actually happened.
Wow.
Before, he said it before it happened, like days before. And when I watched it, I was like, he knew, like I believe this person practices connection to like nature and universe, and would, probably doesn't do much calculated decisions, but he feels and he's connected with the stuff around, and he can give you this answer. It probably sounds totally hoo-ha and voodoo, but from what I've experienced, at least in my personal life, like, it is possible. I believe it's possible. Like, I believe there is a fabric somewhere, like, of universe you can connect to, and like even without psychedelics and whatnot, LSD, and
Yeah.
you can have this knowledge. Yeah, that was very strange.
Yeah. That. I mean, I had also some of these moments when you're like, it's woohoo, but I mean, you're living it, so it's it's hard to say. That's the thing, you know. If you would tell me this 5 years ago, I'd be like, sure, whatever, you know. But now you're like, there's something to it. Maybe I don't know exactly what, and maybe I don't know how to grasp it, but I kind of know like what you're trying to say, and yeah, and I think, you know, like if you just focus more, maybe it's also where you put your focus, you know, when you like focus more on the nature and yourself and the awareness, like you can feel the other people and maybe see like where they are on their journey, you know, like I know there are some things like if you've never done it, like, and somebody has done it, and then he sees people around him who have done it, like he can instantly tell, like, these people are like doing this because you know, because you went through that experience,
Yeah.
right? And if you're stuck in a cave for I don't know how long, but probably long, and there's a person who has been like in a temple, you know, meditating and being in a very long periods of being with himself, you can like you can get imagine, you know, like you see people and you're like, no, these guys can get out of it. These guys,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just my my little extra explanation. Yeah, but there is definitely something to feeling, because the thing is like you cannot calculate how much you want something innerly, right? You cannot put number on it. Like you want it or you don't want it, and sometimes you think you want something, but it's actually not you. It's like the society tells you, like you said, like, you know, I cannot be a garbage man. You know, my mom doesn't want me to be a garbage man. Maybe you want to be a garbage man. Maybe it's like this is your inner truth of like be a garbage. And you can, by the way, if you would be on the, what do you call it? It's the place where we left all the garbage at.
Like disposal side. Yeah.
Disposal side. Maybe you would enjoy it, man. You would have your vintage radio, good music. You would have people to talk to.
I think, and you know, maybe these guys enjoy their jobs. I mean, they are really good at like really keeping boundaries. That's what I noticed. Like if you do something, if you throw something incorrectly into the wrong bin, they'll tell you. You know, they won't be like, maybe I let this one pass, and you know, next time I tell them. No, they'll tell you right away. You know, like
yeah.
like there is no British politeness whatsoever. But I think to them it might seem, yeah, it's a job, and maybe they don't see like the actual change. Like they stand there, you throw your stuff out, and then, you know, they tell you what to do and what not to do, and then the trash, somebody collects it and goes away. I think we created possibly these soulless jobs, like pushing numbers in an Excel sheet. And also these guys who actually deal with the physical stuff, they are not physically even doing it yet. They're rarely touching the trash. Yeah, they are just telling you what to do. So I'm not sure whether they're happy or not. Yeah, I mean, you know, episode 3 of Broken Compass. You know, get a trash collector in.
Get a trash.
Ask them all these deep questions. You know, like, dude.
Yeah, man, like the trash gets collected, you know. Trash will be one day a god, man. So I don't know.
But what I do see, like when we take a bus from the Vienna airport to Bratislava, I see the bus drivers, and like by research already Like I know that historically, like from the past, somebody told me like, oh yeah, like public transport drivers are the happiest people in their jobs.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
that's the most like happiness or satisfying job you can have. And
Mm.
this reminded me, like seeing these people at the bus station or like the drivers, and how they interact with each other and how nice they are to each other. Like in Slovakia, it's not so common that you see like, you know, being so nice with your colleagues, being so nice to the passengers. This has changed a lot in
Mm.
recent years. Yeah. Um, but I've seen it also abroad. And I think the reason for that is they do see that they get, you know, the fruit of their job. Yeah, they get people from A to B. They get people from A to B, not numbers.
Yeah.
It's a very human centric, and they see the benefit of the people. Yeah, like you got from A to B. You know, you got from home to work. I got you there. Like my job is done. You know, and you see the result right away.
Mm.
And the human, you know, actually can say thank you when they're stepping out, like, oh yeah, you've done your job, thank you, you brought me to work. Yeah, even when they don't say it, you see it that you've done it.
Yeah. And also like you can do these small things that actually can bring you a lot of happiness. Like if you're a bus driver and somebody's running towards the bus, it's like he's in a hurry, he's missing the bus, you can just wait and like let him get
Yeah.
in, and that's good for the person. But it's also like you are doing something and you're like, oh nice, I just like you see this person who's like, I made a bus, I'm gonna be whatever. Maybe I'm going for an interview. I'm gonna be, on time, or maybe I'm going to the hospital to see my wife who is pregnant,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be on time. And like people have all kind of reasons, right? And you're gonna be like, there, like, yeah, man, I've done it. And actually, you know what? It makes me happy to see these things happening. Like I was 2 days ago, I was driving a car, and I was in this narrow street, and there was a truck with, because they were doing some construction on the house
Mm.
next to it, so it kind of blocked one part of the street, and then there was a garbage truck next to it, so you can basically pass, right? And the garbage truck, they were like seeing that there was like a queue behind them. It was getting bigger, and the guy from who were doing the construction, they were actually starting helping the garbage man to like make sure that they can do it as quick as possible, which was not their job. And I was like, this is so nice. Like it made my day. I was like, man, this is so cool. I was like, I wanted to get down the window and just scream at the guy, like, man, thank you.
Yeah.
So nice. I should have done it, man. I should have
Yeah. I
done
sometimes like walk around like essentially these people who clean the streets and they have their broom and their, you know, bucket and or bin. I'm like, I should thank them. Like they're making my street look nice, you know, like and clean. I don't know if anybody does that. But I feel like, yeah, I should thank them. But then the society voice is like, no, don't
it. The
don't talk
society,
to this guy who's like all in dirty clothes or
don't be
whatnot.
strange.
Yeah, or don't talk to a stranger. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. People should thanks more, and they should also accept it when you say thank you. Like, do you know how many times when you tell people like thank you, they're like, oh, okay, good. Well,
Yeah.
like people are like, people don't give me enough credit, and then like you give them credit, and they're like, okay, you know.
That's the mirror of themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mirror yourself. That's
You know what you
the
said
mirror.
with the guy running after a bus. I realized again, I kind of put myself and look into the mirror. Like for me, at least in the last week, it has happened on two occasions. Like the tube, somebody, the door was already closing. They stopped the door, which they are not supposed to do. Then they got in, and the door couldn't close, so they had to open and close again, and open and close again. And then the train would go. Uh, so essentially, one person probably saved 1 or 2 minutes before the next train comes, and they made 300 people on that train late by probably 20 seconds. So I calculated like all of a sudden all this rational calculation and oh yeah, you're the bad guy, like who was running late, and you could have just gone for the next train. But yeah, that's what you quite nicely put. Like, oh yeah, we waited, nothing happened, nobody died, and we are going all together now.
we are getting all together. That's nice. Maybe you should be a bus driver or something.
That's my plan for retirement. I thought at retirement I'll be reading books, and I think now, because I'm terrible at reading books, I literally suck at it. I have so many I want to read, and yeah, they've been recommended to me. I bought them, and they're still waiting. And I always thought I'll read books when I'll be retired, but I realized I need to read books now. And then, yeah, in retirement, I need to find something else, and probably bus driving would be great. Yeah. And unfortunately, by then, it will be all automatized. So, yeah. Again, we'll disconnect the human from human by putting a robot in between.
So we will get rid of the job that makes people the happiest.
Yeah, that's crazy. But again, I don't want to stop progress and innovation. So, we need to find a balance somehow. And I'm an economist, so I'm all for innovation. Using resources more efficiently. But that seems again like a calculation. What if we made ourselves happier? What if we focused on that? Let's forget money for a little bit. How do we do that as a society? That's something to figure out. Maybe I should be a holistic economist. Huh?
Or I want to say a happiest economist, or if what do we say? How would you even say it? A feeling economist.
Yeah.
Economist is economy of feelings. Economy of feelings.
Yeah.
You can be the guy who started economic of feelings.
Yeah. One day, my mom again asked me this question, when we had this talk about oh, you don't have emotions, and I think she even came oh, what do you think about love? And I was at that point, again, now it seems super stupid. At that point, I said oh yeah, you need love in your life because when you feel fulfilled, you have a partner, then you perform better and you can earn more money because you have the stuff which you were missing in your life, so you can make more money. And it's really this stupid monkey thinking.
Yeah, definitely. Ooh. Okay, so I think this is a perfect time to leave it there today. However, I do have one question which you kind of answer, but I want to hear it. To close it with, which is a question that I'm always going to ask. What is the one thing that I can do in the coming week, so the next 7 days, to fix my compass?
Yeah, try to do the future self journaling. Really get into it. Wake up in the morning. Do that the first thing in the morning. That will drive your day then.
Okay, so I'll do it. I'll do it from
tomorrow. Do journaling, which is gratitude practicing,
yeah.
But try to twist it in a way that, ask yourself the questions again, you break out the problem into smaller pieces, or just ask yourself random questions would I rather do this or that?
Okay, so I'm gonna comment here that I'm gonna at least ask. Let's say one. I mean, start small, baby steps, right? Yeah. One future journal question per day for next 7 days, and then let's see what happens. I'm curious.
Yeah, write me this. Wow. So I'm gonna hold you accountable to that as a good friend. write me these questions which you ask to yourself in the WhatsApp chat, and it will also help me, like, also to have a reference, like, you know.
Okay, after this, I will have to go online and I will have to look up, because I gave away the book, but that's not a problem. But I will solve that. No worries. All right. Well, thank you for being here with me today. I've really enjoyed this discussion. It was as good as the one in the pub, and I hope it will make you also a little bit high on happiness. That would be my wish. And
no, thanks for having me. It's been quite nice to be a guest on the podcast. First time in my life, so I'm becoming famous. We need to also have a space to plug in all the sponsors somewhere. You should.
Yeah, there's so many of them.
You should really make it like a sponsor inside where you just make up something, and like then it really looks legit.
Yeah, maybe.
This podcast is sponsored by Nike.
And then you would get like from Nike, like, oh, are we sponsoring this? Like, and this is how you get sponsored. You always say this podcast is sponsored by this company, and then like 20 episodes down, they will come to you like, can we actually sponsor it? Like,
fake it till you make it. But again, this is me being calculating money. So yeah. after a really deep podcast about feelings and emotions. So yeah, better to stop here.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to let me know what you think about the episode. I would love to hear what your thoughts are, as well as your own stories, or answer any question you might have. You can get in touch with me either by email at beseda.dan@gmail.com or at my Instagram at Danik-Beseda. You will find all the links in the episode description. I'm looking forward to see you at the next episode with Ines Gaston, a Belgian psychologist and entrepreneur who quit her career to build the life she wants. You're also going to hear a funny story of how I coincidentally met Ines in Peru when I was traveling there in April. So, see you next time, and until then, enjoy the life roller coaster.